Ripple just crossed the Rubicon, and now Wall Street is coming for them. But if the US government couldn't stop us, good luck to the banks. But the moment Ripple filed to become a US bank, the knives came out. The American Banker Association, they're now demanding that regulators shut the door on all crypto banks, specifically naming Ripple as a threat. And why would they do that? Because Ripple's stablecoin strategy and direct access with the Fed, well, it would bypass the middleman. And legacy banks, they know this. But that's not all. XRP, we see it gaining momentum with real world assets, tokenized treasuries, and even DeFi. Meanwhile, rumors are exploding across TikTok and X. There's a mix of truth and pure fiction. We'll break it down here. And just when it looked like we got a big win with ETFs in the SEC, it looked like a multi-asset ETF, including XRP, was approved. The SEC rugged us once again, hitting the pause button. We'll talk about it. We've seen Bitcoin breakouts, record-setting Ethereum ETF inflows, and a call for the federal chair, the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, to resign. I think we got a heck of a week ahead of us here. Let's take a look at this here. The first story, Ripple's bold play. It's massive, it's big. On July 2nd, Ripple filed for a national trust bank charter through standard custody, aiming to become America's first blockchain native bank with direct access to the Fed balance sheet. That's the big deal there. That's what most people are missing. The fact that we are essentially extending the federal balance sheet onto the XRP ledger. You literally would have a risk-free stablecoin. It's not like we saw when Silicon Valley Bank went under. And oh no, the reserves, they might not be there. Wouldn't be like that. Reserves for RLUSD would be on the Federal Reserve balance sheet, and you would have a direct pipeline, an on and off ramp, no cost. You can move value onto and off of the blockchain, the best blockchain for moving value there is. Cheap, fast, efficient, never goes down. This is the future of finance here. This strategic move would allow Ripple to issue RLUSD stablecoins with 24/7 redemption rights, backed by Federal Reserve notes. If successful, this would transform XRP Ledger into a core infrastructure for U.S. and global financial markets. It's going to happen too, people. Just best believe that. But the banking industry has responded swiftly with significant opposition. With this administration, though, it ain't going to work. They know what the future is. It is full steam ahead. The ABA, leading a coalition urging regulators to halt all crypto bank charters, but specifically naming Ripple and Circle. They know who the threats are. They want them stopped, but you ain't going to stop this behemoth. It's just a matter of time. Ripple's going to get that license. We've seen within the XRP ledger an explosion in growth with tokenized assets, 118 million in RWA value. And this is what I've said before. You know, we started with 5 million, and in just 6 months, we're at 118. We saw this on Flare too. We've seen similar growth. 118, you're not leading the industry, but now you're at a level where you can do a few multiples off that, and you're in the prime time. You're in the big leagues. I'll also tell you this. When we look at daily DEX volume, only 186,000. Not great. But 2017, when we started that year, XRP was churning $400,000 in daily volume on public exchanges. And by the end of the year, we were doing billions. And you see where we are now. This can grow at lightning pace. We are at a good spot where we can start to scale now. DeFi, early days, but it's growing well. 68% growth. Total value locked, 92 million. Again, not an industry standard, not the leader, but now we're at a level where we can start 10xing off of that, and now we're talking about some serious change here. XRP Ledger version 2.5 introduced critical enterprise features, including batch transactions, token escrows, delegated authorizations, and permission DEX tool. This is important because as people start to leverage this technology in the future, let's say BlackRock, they can't let just anyone go onto their system and start trading their treasuries. They have to have some control there. So this is an important deal. You have to have that functionality. Doesn't mean all the DEXs are going to have, permissioned, settings there. A lot of them will be open. Anyone can use them. But for a lot of these institutions, if they're going to have this type of system, they're going to need to be able to KYC you, know who you are, and give you approval so not just anyone can go on there. That's what this is about, building out the capability for those major institutions that are going to jump in here and build out the future on this blockchain. It's really important functionality we see coming here. Now, when we look at kind of the overview of social media within the XRP community, There was a post. XRP Army trended #1 on TikTok with meme posts, ambitious price targets, some of it kind of out of control, but this is what happens during bull runs. People get excited. XRP is leading the way. We had one post there celebrating the $3.60 price breakout. It got 1.5 million views in under 24 hours. A lot of action here. It's been a lot of viral discussion here. Extensive debate. How much XRP do you need to retire? With answers ranging from 1,000 to 60,000. Now, I'll tell you two things here. First of all, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I wouldn't trend towards the 1,000 number for retiring. But number two is you don't have to retire from one bull run or even one investment, right? Like if you get huge gains here, and you take some money off the table, that opens up possibilities for the future, other investments you can make. Investing is part of your lifelong, mission here, if you will. And you don't have to do it all in one run. Just remember that it's not just about the XRP you have right now, getting you necessarily to retirement. It can open the doors to a lot of different things. So just keep that in mind. Bill Morgan debunking misconceptions about the escrow release capping XRP's price. I'll tell you this, of course, it has an effect on price, but Ripple's very, they're very thoughtful about how they affect the market. They keep those numbers at a reasonable amount for the amount of XRP they have to try to not have too much negative effect. Of course, more XRP hitting the open market, it is going to have an effect on price, but same as if you sell, I sell. When you see ETFs, they start to accumulate a lot, and times when they're selling a lot, it's going to affect things. When anyone buys and sells, it affects the market. It just depends on how big you are. But I think he's correct that, Ripple isn't sinking the price of XRP. They're very methodical on what they're doing here. Now, there was a false rumor that China was purchasing $40 billion in XRP for their reserves. It's gaining a lot of traction. That ain't happening right now. Doesn't mean someday they won't start violently acquiring XRP and other crypto assets, but that's not happening right now. And then there was a lot of speculation just about immediate institutional adoption. It's probably not going to work like that. It'll be a slow rollout, testing, real live transactions, but probably not flip the switch and everything goes over to the XRP ledger. It doesn't work like that. There's going to be a building process. But as we start ramping up, it's still a big deal. We don't have to get everything in one swipe here. Now, today there was an SEC multi-crypto ETF that was approved, Bitwise's ETF. It's a spot product. Of course, it has Bitcoin, Ethereum, coins like Cardano, and XRP. So this would have been the first XRP ETF to go live. It wasn't XRP only, but it included it in a basket of different cryptos. SEC approved it. Yay, we won. We're part of an ETF, and then they paused it, just like they did with Grayscale. What's going on here? Well, they're not really giving us a lot of reasoning here, but I suspect they're letting everyone get in line. That's going to want to have these altcoin ETFs and these basket products, whether it's your BlackRocks, your Fidelities, whoever it is. Like they're signaling, these are going to be compliant. We're going to allow this. Get ready, because pretty soon we're going to approve it. They don't want to deny it. They're not rejecting it. They're kind of saying, yeah, we approve it. Now pause. Let everyone get in line. That's what I think is happening here with this. That's all I can think of here. Now, beyond that, know this. They have to approve it. This issue has already been taken to court, right? Like with Grayscale originally, they allowed the futures product, the trade with Bitcoin, and then they wouldn't allow the spot, and Grayscale took them to court, and the judge said it doesn't make sense. If you can have a futures product that tracks the asset's performance, then why can't you just buy the asset? Like, what is the difference? And eventually they had to allow it. We've seen XRP futures approved. They're trading now on regulated markets. They have to, by law, approve this in time, and they will. It's going to happen. I think they're just allowing everyone to get in line here. That's all we see in here. Now, Bitcoin, last week really ran really well during Bitcoin week. 123,000, represented 29% increase year to date and continuing its upwards momentum. I expect that to continue here. Institutional flows. Bitcoin ETF saw massive $1.18 billion in daily inflows at a peak, followed by first net outflows of 131 million. Very minor. People probably pulling profits. We saw great performance. Some people taking money off the board here. When we look at Ethereum, also doing quite well here. 2.18 billion in weekly ETF inflows. And imagine once that comes over also to the XRP ecosystem, once the XRP ETF is approved. There's demand there. We see that in the futures. We see that in all these issuers that want both XRP and its basket products and XRP standalone ones with more to come here. The demand's there, or they wouldn't be trying to offer these products, of course. And that's going to make a difference in price because those spot ETFs, they hit the market. And you've seen Ethereum respond from this, right? Increased demand, Ethereum price going up. Also, Ethereum doing well. Total DeFi transaction value locked, 136 billion. And also think of that. Those numbers were going on over with XRP. Kind of small right now, but can start scaling really quick. And that's going to make a big difference, both just in XRP locked up in different pools, but also, the more valuable things you do with the blockchain, the more valuable the token will become just over time. Ethereum TVL 80 billion. So there's a lot going on here in crypto, and it's going to continue. I see a lot of people panicking. The price goes down 1%, 1.5%. Oh no, the bull runs over. You're going to hear this probably 5, 6, 10 times. The bull runs over, and every time it's going to rebound and go to new highs. And it will happen so much that when it really is over, you won't believe it. But just know this is early. And barring some sort of catastrophic black swan that you can't see coming, this bull run is not ending. It's just beginning, and we got a lot of growth ahead of us. If you're a betting person, look, you're going to bet on the more likely, which is we continue onwards and upwards. You can never know for sure, but that's the way it should play out. Lastly, Federal Reserve independence is under scrutiny big time. Mohamed El-Erian, he's not political, but he's saying that Powell needs to resign to preserve Fed autonomy. And the biggest thing he points out is when that election was coming up, it's not the fact he won't cut rates now, but when we were heading into the election for the current administration, he did a mega rate cut, 50 basis points, and then he slammed on the brakes post-election. What changed? What was different in the economic data? How can you really explain that bizarre behavior? You can't. He can say now you have tariffs and all this different stuff, but that wasn't the case then. He obviously was acting political. He needs to step aside and they need to get a replacement. Plus, it will just be good for the Fed to have someone in place that's going to have a long-term strategy here and long-term vision. Powell's only there till March. This is a very complicated time that requires long-term planning. It's time. El-Erian cites mission creep and rising political interference in monetary policy decisions. Treasury Secretary Bessent has agreed that a comprehensive review of the Federal Reserve is necessary. We don't need this fighting back and forth. Again, the president can't set Fed policy. It's supposed to be independent. That's fine. But Powell threw his independence out the window with his actions pre-election. We need someone new here. It's only a matter of time. We're going to get it. The sooner, the better. And I think we're going to see that happen as more and more people are going to call out the reality that it's time for some change. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.